Hey traders, Nick Shaheen here, looking at catching a falling knife. This is a proverbial way of saying stock's falling out of control, when do I reach and grab it? I always say hopefully when I can see the handle not being 2 inches with a 12-inch blade, because I'm going to lose some fingers. Physically impossible for me to catch it without actually getting some damage. So this is the IWM. This is the ETF on the small caps. So most people know the RUT, and so they're basically the same. One is the index, and the other one is the ETF. The IWM is the ETF. Pretty liquid. It trades with options, and they have weekly contracts. So it's a good way to trade the quote market, because the small caps are a basket of basically 2,000 stocks, and it's not a rule, but they sometimes, more often than not, they move first. Either they hit levels first, they hit bottoms first, or they make the turn first. And when they move a lot faster than the regular indices. That's how it used to be. Well, here we are on a bad day. They were down 6.3% when the other indices were down like 4 and change. So it's like 1.5 times roughly. So here we are. So how do I catch this falling knife? Do I catch this falling knife? And at what level and how and all of this? So first of all, this chart does not tell me anything except that, oh my God, there's something going on. So I have to expand it. So this is 1 year's worth of data. So if you listen to CNBC, Cramer was saying he's been bearish the whole time, which is bullshit, because he is not. He one time said he was bearish after the football, the Super Bowl, and now he can claim it for the whole year. You know, easy for him to say, you know, I've been bearish the whole time telling you to sell. Meanwhile, his show was like, buy this and buy that. I want you to buy this tomorrow. And so, but he covers his ass. But hey, he's funny, so it's a good entertainment. So here we go. I need a bigger, so this is a weekly chart. Now I'm looking at 5 years worth of data. Why do I do this? Because I want to see when was this before and how it unfolded. So Cramer, I keep mentioning him because he said something that most people are thinking. We haven't hit the December bottom. We did. 2,000 stocks did. This is the crash from 2018. Today we went lower. 2,000 stocks went lower. Yet 30 Dow stocks didn't. So I guess we, quote, didn't. We did. So this is not reason alone. But it tells me that, first of all, the small caps rallied last and least. What do I mean? This is the all-time high. They never breached it. They came close, while all the other indices broke. So they rallied last and they rallied least, which was unusual. So now they fell first and most. So it's something to note, in my opinion. So 30% almost, 27, 28% from top to bottom. So it's a pretty sizable move. So it hitting a prior low is not reason enough to buy it. Sometimes it is. It hits and goes. But the only reason it can't go, because there is a sentiment shift, and it all pivots around one thing. I posted a table, virus data everywhere. I'm not going to give you another virus data. I'm going to just tell you the simple, stupid way for me to look at it. The only difference between the flu from the mindset of the traders. We've had the flu for decades. It kills 600,000 people a year, up to 690. I think the number is like 300 to 690,000 a year worldwide. But we live with it. Nobody says, hey, I got to sell Apple because the flu is rampant. Nobody says that, because we have the vaccine and we know how to treat it because we've seen it for a long time. We don't have a cure to the flu or the cold. This is the same family of diseases, viruses, I should say. So the only difference is we don't have a vaccine, and it's fairly new. So it's kind of like a scary thing until we wrap our head. So if you put them side by side, the only major difference is the vaccine. So as long as the vaccine is not, I don't want them to have a vaccine. I want them to say, we found it, we're just doing it. And it's going to take 6 months or 7 months. That's all Wall Street wants to hear, I bet you. So we still have that cloud. So there's no reason for a sharp V recovery. It could come. They could throw $1 trillion at the economy. We don't know. But that's an opposite of a black swan event. So I have to look at other things, and that's where levels come into play. So I have to expand my view. Maybe if I go to a monthly, then it'll be clear. Okay. So this is a monthly chart. We're looking back to 2003. So this is the 2008, 7, 8 crash right here, correction, crash, whatever, and then we rallied. So this tells me that there is a pivot zone. What is a pivot zone? Is when prices go up and they hit a plateau, they hit a wall, like they did here. They hit a wall and they fail. And then they decide at some point in time we're going to go up. And then once they do, then it becomes to when do they test it? In December, they came back and tested to the penny. I'm not making this shit up. Sorry. So bounced hard off of that. Why? Because we had the vaccine event. What is that? Powell said, I was wrong, my bad. Just kidding. I'm still going to cut rates. We're waiting for that Powell event here. We don't have it. So if I want to nibble long, it's fine. If I want to go all in, it's gambling. If I want to stay out until I get an all clear, I'm going to be late, which is also fine. So the pivot points are important, but the only problem with me with having a fine line like last time, the VIX was nowhere near the level it is here. So if you think about it silly, the VIX, 16 VIX is about 1% up and down. That's the dirty math. So 50 VIX, I should expect plus or minus 3% move in the market every day. That's what it is mathematically, the way I'm thinking about it. I'm not from Wall Street. I don't know the VIX formula. I can probably draw a few symbols out of it, but I'm just using plain simple logic. And I bet you if you dig into it, you'll find that I'm correct. So this is a very well consolidated zone. It's a bottom I can bet on. If this fails, we have major problems. That's my opinion, right? So I can bet on it. So I don't want to catch it with two hands and say, this is it, I'm all in. Unless I'm a gambler. I'm not. I have a friend who is, and he makes a ton of money and he loses a ton of money. I can't do that. So I nibble, okay. Like if I bought some at the close today when the IWM was at the lowest, it's not crazy to expect to pop tomorrow. And if it works, I carry it as a swing trade. Maybe the headlines will come better, but it's highly unlikely. So find a zone that suits your trading style, your time frame. If I wanted to look for a different pivot line, look at how big this pivot is. So this zone here, very far from here, should be like concrete. If we lose this zone, it means our world has changed. That's my expectations. So there are some things I can do other than what you hear, what I hear in the news. So I'm not recommending anybody do anything here. I'm just telling you the levels that stick to mind and the things that I think are going to come into play. You need that trigger to flip sentiment. Sentiment, I couldn't believe it. I cannot believe it's worse than Christmas of 2018. I thought sentiment back then was as bad as could be. We had tariffs and then Powell just tipped us over. This is, and the inversion of the yield curve sometime too. So it was everything. We had 1,000 cuts. Well, now we have 1,000 cuts and sentiment's even worse. I don't know how that's possible. You're going to have people very encouraged by the double top thing. So they're going to press the short. Up until now, they haven't pressed shorts, but they're still spooked by the 2016 election and how fast they can rally. We can still do this, but we need a trigger to flip sentiment. And I think the only thing that could flip sentiment, other than a cure, obviously, is a vaccine, because then we can stop 70% from it happening. Because I think you can double check these. The vaccine's efficacy, I don't know, for the flu is 70%. So I would expect it to be 70%. So this protects all the old people that would probably be most vulnerable. know the people that have, maybe asthma problems, or they don't have to be old. They might have a condition that would, again, I'm not a virologist, but I'm playing one, I guess, here. And logic says the only difference is the vaccine. Tell Wall Street that there's a vaccine coming for sure by this date. That's all they want to hear. And that will be the event to flip sentiment. So do I catch a falling knife? It's still falling. It's like a freaking machete. Maybe nibble. Definitely not full size unless I'm a gambler. If I want to wait it out and miss out on a few of the bounce, that's fine too. That's also reasonable that I do. And how do I do it? I can buy calls. I can buy the index, the ETF. This way time is not a factor. I can sell puts, spreads. I don't sell puts and naked ETFs, naked in the ETFs, because I don't really know the bottom. I'm okay selling puts in stocks. So anyway, this video turned out to be a little bit longer than I wanted, but I think it's a little bit better than I thought. So use logic. Find the trigger. In this case, find the problem. It's sentiment. It's not the virus. It's how we feel about the virus. We locked the globe down. We locked it down. I have a family member flying tomorrow. I said, "Are you nervous?" She said, "No." So, but my son just asked me if he could go to Washington State for a vacation. The kids are not thinking about it. So, but everybody in the news is freaked out. I see 16,000 headlines a day. We got 2 new cases in China. 2? You're reporting on 2 new cases in China. How does that help me? 2 new cases, is that more or less than yesterday? And they give dates, and is that when they were reported, or is that when they tested positive? Just confuse the freak out of everybody. Just simplify it and just use logic. All we need for stock purposes is to flip sentiment. That's the problem, sentiment. Flip it with a headline that says, hey, we've got it under control. This vaccine thing is going to be doable. We're going to need a few months to actually develop it, produce it, disseminate it. But guess what? We nabbed it. That's all Wall Street wants to hear. I don't believe that the P&Ls are going to go from great to absolute disaster. It can never recover for a decade. That's the sentiment now. They're killing companies like it's going out of style. Anyway, Nick signing up. Oh, down below there are a couple places you can sign up